Sarah here, and welcome to my squat extravaganza. I'm going to debunk a whole bunch of squat myths. I used to believe that you weren't supposed to squat deep because it would be very hard on your knees, and that you weren't supposed to let your knees track over your toes, and that if you wanted to get anything out of your squat, that you must load up as many plates as possible on your barbell and just make it uber ridiculously heavy. Okay, let's get this vlog started. Let's take a look at a proper air squat. So I initiate the squat at the hips first, then I bend my knees down and come back up. Be very careful not to initiate the squat with your knees. You don't want to dive with your knees like this. A lot of people will squat like that, so always think hips first, then knees. Hips first, then knees. The problem with initiating your squat with your knees is that this puts a lot of shear force on your knees. And if you do this repeatedly over years, you're eventually going to have a lot of knee pain and knee problems. The reason why you want to squat full depth below parallel is that this is going to put your hamstring in a fully lengthened position. And this is important for two reasons. It will provide you with the stretch reflex that will help you get up out of the hole. And it's going to provide a posterior shear force, which will counterbalance the anterior shear caused by the quads. So it makes your knees more stable. Here's the problem with half squatting. When you half squat, you don't get that crucial hamstring activation we just discussed. So now the quads are bearing all the load, causing an anterior shear on your knees, which makes your knees very unstable. And if you half squat for years and years and years, eventually you're going to develop knee problems. So stop half squatting. The whole purpose of squatting is to train the fascia and muscles of the posterior chain. I want to address another squatting myth, and that's, oh, your knees aren't supposed to go past your toes. As long as you are initiating your squat at the hips and maintaining your balance on the way down, then it doesn't matter if your knees go past your toes. In fact, this is necessary for you to be able to maintain an upright trunk position so that you don't round your back. In fact, science tells us that very little stress is placed on the ligaments of your knees when you're in a deep squat position. So it's actually safer for your knee ligaments for you to be in a deep squat position. Plus, in the deep squat position, you minimize the shear forces on the knee, and your quads and hams are working together to stabilize your knees. And when we come back up, we're going to make sure our hips and chest rise up at the same rate, and we complete the squat at the top by going into full hip and knee extension. If you look to the bottom right, you will see Coco demonstrating full hip and knee extension. Contrary to popular belief, squatting is not detrimental to your joints if you do it properly. It's actually really rehabilitative for cranky joints, and I know this firsthand because for years I squatted like this. You know, I didn't even know that I wasn't squatting properly, but I had horrible knee pain for years. And once I learned how to properly execute the air squat, my knee pain went away. You know, squatting is a natural and functional part of your existence. You need to be able to squat down to pick things up off the floor, to sit on the toilet, and cut your toenails. I really think air squatting is a great start. I mean, it's a total body exercise and you don't need any equipment. I recommend beginners start by squatting to a bench or chair, and you use all the same principles that I taught. Hips first, then knees. It's important that you have full mobility in your hips, that you can squat down like this, because if you fall, you're not going to break your hip. But somebody who only has mobility to here, if they fall, yeah, it's not going to be a good outcome at all. And that's typically why older people fracture their hips. And let's not forget the fact that if you're not doing any form of strength training, yeah, your bones are going to be more brittle than somebody who is. And by the way, this position that I'm in right now, this is going to be your goal. It's not about how much you squat, but rather it's about how much you squat well. Air squatting demands adequate ankle mobility. So this is a test. So you can see that I have my knee against the wall and my heel is pressed on the floor, and the ruler is going from my big toe to the wall, and it's 5 inches. So if you're less than 5 inches, then you need to get to work on improving your ankle mobility. Every day, I always air squat in bare feet so that I'm not relying on lifters. I want to make sure I have adequate ankle mobility. Here you see me doing it with the lifters on. It makes it a lot easier. Just don't use them as a crutch. Now, air squatting rocks my world. I do 3 sets of 10 and I am literally panting and sweating. I think that you get a lot more out of doing 10 perfect air squats than you do loading up a barbell with 200 pounds and half squatting it. And now you understand the consequences of half squatting. Imagine if you have 200 pounds on your back. You're just an injury waiting to happen. Don't underestimate the air squat. It turned me into a beast. And then it opened up a world of possibilities for me. I was able to learn snatching, cleaning, overhead squats, back squats, front squats, dumbbell snatches. Everyone should have the ability to perform an air squat to full depth. If you found this video helpful, let me know. Shoot me a comment or hit the like button or do both. Before I go, I want to thank my subscribers. I truly appreciate you and the interaction that I get to have with you. I'm very grateful for this platform. So thank you for subscribing. And for the people who haven't subscribed yet, make sure you subscribe or else pimple on your bum.